Have you ever wondered how deep tech companies actually start? Well, we were too.
So in this podcast, we'll be interviewing scientists and entrepreneurs that have taken their ideas out of the lab and turned them into startups. I'm Antonia.
And I'm Christina, and this is Startup the Science. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Startup the Science.
How exciting.
Woohoo!
Today, we have a great startup from Denmark joining us, represented by Serena, who's a very enthusiastic startupper.
I don't think I stopped smiling once during this
It's very easy
conversation.
to keep smiling.
I didn't say anything, but I just listened to her because this is the magic of Serena.
It is the magic of Serena.
Yeah.
They are very lucky to have her. The name Cellugy might ring some bell if you're an overly attentive person with a great memory, because they are the winners of AdMaCom 2019. And in one of our previous episodes, Ferdinand Bartels mentions them as one of his top favorite startups.
Woohoo.
Woohoo. So they do very amazing things in their startup.
They're saving the planet.
They really are. So what is the main problem our planet has today? It is plastic.
Well,
Okay. This is debatable. It's debatable. But one of the main problems. This is like war and stuff. Yeah. But, then there's also hunger. Yeah. But also plastic. Plastic
is a problem.
A problem. So Cellugy is solving part of the plastic problem. We're going to hear more about it in a bit. But if you are also frustrated like us of all the plastic packaging you see in supermarkets, then this episode should be interesting. Also, if you want to hear more about what it's like to be a startupper.
I like what she has to say about pitching.
Yes. She has some great tips on how to be a passionate pitcher? I don't think pitcher is the right word that I want to use here.
Because that's a baseball term, yeah. So,
yeah. Well, someone that does startup pitches. All right.
If anyone knows the word for this, contact us.
Anyway, let's get this show on the road, shall we?
So Serena. Here's Serena from Cellugy.
Hi, Serena. How are you?
Good day, Antonia. I'm doing fine. Even better now that I'm talking to you.
Aw, it's lovely to talk to you again, and we're very happy to have you on our podcast today. So today we're talking about Cellugy, which is one of our favorite startups. We're big fans, and there are many, many things we love about Cellugy. But I wanted to ask you, we usually start by asking, what is the problem that your startup is solving? So can we talk a bit about that, and then we'll get into the more fun stuff about your company?
Yes. So Cellugy is a Danish-based startup. We have been out there for a little bit more than 2 years now with the idea. And as an established company and firm, we will have our 2-year-old birthday in April.
Oh.
Yeah, we will celebrate just like the last year as well. As a young company, as a biotech company working in this very highly relevant and also with a lot of pressure from the market field, which is the plastic replacement, Cellugy is actually providing the right alternative to fossil-based single-use plastics. And our material or our alternative is 100% renewable based or resource-based biocellulose that we have been bringing with different forms into the packaging industry by the moment. You're talking to Serena. I'm the engagement manager and one of the partners in the company, and I've had the responsibility to take care of different stakeholder management, collaborations, relationships, visibility with different networks, different competitions, investors meetings and such. So you'd find me everywhere, and I can talk to everyone, and that's a little bit on the company to start with. And then, of course, we will dive more with the other questions, but very important to say the right alternative to replace single-use plastic in the world at this point.
And that is very, very exciting. And what we've noticed is a trend as well is that we get more and more startups working in the sustainability space and trying to make a difference and use less plastic, generally help the world use less plastic. So let's dive into the solution a bit more. Can you tell us just a little bit, or as much as you want, about how Cellugy does this? How are you trying to replace single-use plastic?
So we are using white technology. What happens is that we collect waste, for example, fruit waste from different fruit leftovers from different food providers. And then we run a bioprocess with some bacteria, special bacteria, we go through some sterilization and cleaning as downstream process, and at the end we have our product EcoFlexi. EcoFlexi is a patent pending product at the time of speaking. So as a product, EcoFlexi kind of enjoys multiple features, and I couldn't emphasize enough, or maybe if I didn't do it, I'll try again. It's 100% bio-based, so zero microplastic in it. We have gone through certain certifications that our product appears to be food grade positive, recyclable with paper and board, also compostable in room temperature, which means that our product can start disintegrating within 4 weeks, whether it's in contact with soil or some rotten fruits and vegetables. Some of these features that I just mentioned, they make EcoFlexi, our product, the most sustainable alternative in the market to replace plastic packaging, right? And then in the meantime, other features of EcoFlexi are within the same comparability with the plastic. For example, the water barriers, the high temperature stability, oxygen barriers, and so on. EcoFlexi also enjoys this openness to have a different type of product for different type of whatever we want to pack, food, cosmetics, other versions of different products that we would like to pack with EcoFlexi. So it's very flexible. We don't have a one of a kind material, but we can plug and play different features for different products and then have EcoFlexi in a variety of forms.
So it's quite versatile, and if we were to imagine it in real life, we can imagine it as a thin, transparent foil, for example, like the kind we see vegetables in the supermarket wrapped in. Is this one of the most common applications, at least from my memory of EcoFlexi?
So this is one of the applications. This is the most favorite application for the end consumer, because they're very worried when they go in the supermarkets and buy food that has an unnecessary plastic sheet, that it's covering this food products. But then, of course, we have our formulation, which comes in different forms, but it mostly plays a role to have a functional benefit for barriers in paper and cardboards, or also being an additive for paper and cardboard at the same time. So it's multiple usage that Cellugy and EcoFlexi provide out there, besides the thin layer that is what it's, again, the most favorite of the end consumer, what is most reasonable for the eye to understand and perceive how this packaging makes a difference out there.
And so the wonderful thing about it is that as a consumer, if your product would make it to the supermarkets and would replace the existing plastic packaging, as a consumer, you would buy this and then you can throw it in your bin, and it disintegrates together with your compostables within 4 weeks or after 4 weeks.
Yeah. So the good thing is that we have usually we have the paper and cardboard bin, which is the most familiar one that a family could have. So you could throw it there. You could throw it in the usual bin where you have all the other type of waste. And then disintegration might start there, or it could start in the landfills, because there's always soil and rotten fruits and vegetables over there. But of course, some of the families, especially if you're living in the countryside, or if you're very much a fanatic for having a good impact in the environment, then you might even have an organic compost. And over there, after a while, this can become a fertilizer for your garden. So it's very much beneficial that way. For the throwing out, like the end life cycle, this is where the sheets can have the most applicability, right? Because this monomaterial breathable film with all the other features, printable, sealable, translucent, recyclable, and compostable, that's where you will have it mostly seen. The same will happen with the additive, for paper and cardboard, because that's also recyclable. But at that point, we're just making sure that existing packaging materials are not having multi-layering, right? Because you sometimes buy, let's say, meat on a cardboard, and then you see a very thin plastic layer underneath. And that cardboard, even though it's coming from paper divergence, it still can't be recycled because of the thin plastic layer, right? But if we put EcoFlexi on it, here you go, it's solved, and it goes into the paper bin after a while. So it's very easily disposed at the end of the life cycle. No need for a new collection system, no need for a new sorting system. Simple.
That is amazing, and we really love this product. Obviously, it was very popular during AdMaCom as well, where Cellugy won the main prize last year in 2019. So one of the reasons, of course, was the technology and how impressive it is. The other reason, I think, for you guys winning this prize was also the team. You have a really wonderful team, and we're very happy that you also have a female founder, which is always nice to see. And I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit more about how Cellugy started, how you came to this great team that you put together. What's the story of the company?
Yes. So we are based in Aarhus, right? And in the city, we have the biggest and the oldest university in Denmark, Aarhus University. Isabel and Debbie, the brightest scientist on this earth for the moment for me, actually, they came up with this idea after going around into the different supermarkets and finding out that there are some organic foods packed in plastic. So it was frustrating for them. So they started elaborating on this while they were doing their PhD and postdoc in the university, even though Cellugy didn't come from the research that they were already having, right? So it was completely pure, two ladies in the lab that like each other, get along, their brains work in the same wave. Let's compete in this faculty actually competition called the Dean's Challenge. So they did a little bit of research, and they started upon the case, and then they could have the first idea presented. They actually won that competition at that point, and it was November 2018. Yes, 2018 or 2017. I can't recall.
Somewhere around there. It is confusing. Time flies. But I think it was 2017, if I remember.
It's 2017,
yes.
Exactly. See, I can't remember all the prizes. We have been winning so much that we can't place them anymore. But at that point,
nice.
as per now, I met them during the competition. I was a presenter and a coach while being there. So at the beginning, I joined as an advisor, and I saw how Debbie and Isabel also acquired their third co-founder, Parun, who's great with the numbers and the financials and the business intelligence of the company. And then definitely we started working on the first couple of grants and fundraising for having the research that the girls have put together into real science and a real product. Actually, very quickly, the last 2 years, we have raised more than 600,000 euros into soft funding, and we have had multiple collaborations, especially with the industry. And recently we have won some major prizes in the international arena. So it seems like the company is progressing quite well. And then definitely, as you said, people really like the product because it shows a lot of promise. And we also see that once people get to know that there is a right alternative to certain types of plastic packaging, there's such a high expectation on us as a team, but also in the company. So it's sometimes a big struggle to deliver very fast, because usually biotechs do not have this rate of like growth and progress like Cellugy, and that's where we've been thriving. And as you said, it's mostly because of the team. I call it another family, and we have found a way to put all the complementary skills together, but also learn a lot meanwhile and accept mistakes and read and go places and do not take anything for granted while in this journey. So it's been multiple challenges while acting. So we have not been the lazy type. We have not been applying the work-life balance in Denmark very well. Sometimes we have been also making small sacrifices on our personal side. But I mean, this is, to our understanding, it's completely normal once you really desire for something to happen and you really want to make that happen as quick as possible. And this is not only for the business reasons, everybody's trying to find alternatives to plastic, and a lot of money is being put into public policies, and many companies and corporates are arm blackmailing, or whatever I want to call it, their packaging their packaging providers to provide with something new. Sometimes I have to use some strange terms just to put the emergency even higher. But I mean, all of these, they're business concerns, right, to move faster. But for us, it's because we have seen that in 2-year period, we have had amazing trials in the lab scale, providing with great results in the product side. So we see that we can do much more on it. And of course, we can't take it slow, and we can't wait for things to happen without being on a move. So, yeah.
That makes sense. And I mean, that also explains your very fast progress, also how you're winning all of these awards in Europe as well as in other parts of the world. I was recently very impressed to see you pitch in China as well. A very tough place to pitch because culturally it's quite different. The style is quite different. But when you presented Cellugy, everyone was was impressed. And I also wanted to ask you a bit about that. I mean, your passion is very obvious for the product, for the team, for the company overall. How do you manage to find this really, okay, for context, first of all, you are probably the best startup pitcher that we've seen. I think everyone would agree. Because you seem to be really in love with the product, but also you manage to get everyone else excited and also aware of what the problem is and why it's important to solve it. And I'm just curious to know also on a personal level, how did you become such a good presenter and how did you manage to get this great style of presenting and getting everyone excited?
Yeah, so there might be something to do with the little genes that I have in my blood. Many of my family members, they have been performers. So my aunt, she's a soprano. My mom used to play instruments. My dad sings in all the different family arrangements. So apparently people like to take like the spot. And then maybe I learned on the way. I was actually not that good, I would say. I learned a lot on the way. I learned a lot of tricks and a lot of different techniques on the go. I learned how to use my body. I remember one of my first appearance on a continuous TV show back home in Albania. The first thing I had to learn was how to take care of my hair. So I would take half of the TV screen with the hair, and then I was like, okay, this doesn't work, and my hands are all over the place. So in every occasion when I had to pitch and present, there is something new that you face. And that was the case, for example, for China, a new environment, a new setting, a different audience with different expectations and such. So of course I had to prepare for it a lot. You might not believe it, but I had been thinking, even for the close, for 3 weeks in a row, just to be as accurate as possible so that people can read through me. Actually, they can see through me. Never going besides my type and my personality. That's a no-go. So maybe you could feel that too, during the pitch and then after the break conversations. But I would say if this goes to the ears of some of the other entrepreneurs and startups, the first thing is that some guy, I don't recall his name, but he said the best way to sound like you know what you're talking about, it's actually to know what you're talking about. So Cellugy, same as many other startups, changes go really, really fast. And believe it or not, even within our team, a very small dynamic team, 5 to 10 people and many other interns and student assistants, there is a lot of things going on every time. So every now and then we even go through technical training for each other so that I can try to answer as many questions as possible besides my business background, let's say. So of course I try to make sure that I can answer or at least direct for the answer to whoever is questioning about what I'm saying. And then of course in the pitch, I try to focus on very few messages, right? So I really want to make sure that people, when they leave the room, they know it's Cellugy, it's replacing this and that. This is the raw material. These are the advantages in a nutshell, right? So very few messages and not going in very, very many details about whatever specifics in the technology and stuff like that, unless the pitch is completely targeted to a certain profiling of the company. For example, AdMaCom was very much into advanced materials and types of materials and so technicalities were on the focus, and that makes sense there to include more, but few messages, they have to relate to the context where you're presenting. The use of a simple language, and this is why sometimes I come across as a weirdo, because I use terms that you would not think of in a company, especially not in a biotech, but this simple language speaks more to the people, right? Especially if they're not having English as their first mother tongue, and it's not my mother tongue either. So trying to read the audience, that obvious. I try to include daily experiences over there, so relate some of the problem that we're solving or how we're solving to whatever everybody's doing in their daily life. And finally, which I think is the best thing that I've learned to do with the passing of the years, is that I never learn a script by heart. And I've seen this happen really very much among startups. I also am a consultant for that, and I do that at the university as part of my job, and I also do that as a freelance. But I see that there's a tendency to learn every single line by heart. And this is where I say, please allow for flexibility in the script that you make. So it's rather better to have small statements, a red thread in the pitch, and then of course some punches where you can have a laugh or you can emphasize something very particularly many times, but do not have everything planned like military invading a new country or whatever. So be flexible. You never know, something is going to go wrong, and you should have a way to adapt to it on the spot. It can be timing, it can be technicals with the background and everything. So just have some flexibility in your pitch.
Yeah, and that definitely comes across in how you pitch. It's a very balanced mix of spontaneity, but also you're very well prepared. You know what you're talking about. And it comes across as very professional, but also very friendly and spontaneous. And that's a nice balance to find.
I'm
That's
sure
great.
you've seen many startups in biotech, and I'm flattered to hear that Cellugy has been delivering some of the best presentations, because I'm sure you had the same experience with Isabel. And this is where I can give the last piece of advice, that in a company, it doesn't matter if you're the science guy or the business guy or whatever, you are always able to deliver a message, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't need to put certain people on certain corners for particular tasks the whole time. So Isabel has her own great originality, her way to approach the audience, being friendly and such. She has her own way on how to do this. So allow other people in the company to experiment with the pitching too.
No, I think that's a very good point. I mean, everyone will have a different style for sure, and you have a very clear signature style. Maybe we'll put a link in the description to one of your presentations or something if you have a video somewhere for maybe our listeners to watch you pitch. And it's wonderful. I mean, we also really, really love seeing, as I said before, a company started by women. We'd love to have more women founders on the podcast too. And this is a great example of a very successful female-driven enterprise. So tell us more, Serena, about what stage Cellugy is at now in terms of your growth. So you mentioned you raised about 600,000 K so far, which is great progress in a pretty short amount of time. What are you looking for at the moment? Are you looking for further investors? Are you looking for pilot projects, industrial partners? What is the focus right now?
So after we spent a great week in China together, Debbie and Isabel were pitching for National Geographic in Washington. And there we also scored the runners-up, so second place in the National Geographic Open Challenge for Saving the Oceans in the design category as, let's say, in, again, simple words, the second best new materials company in the world, or at least among the ones that were competing for the National Geographic Challenge. So with that, we raised a few more thousands of dollars as soft funding, but we also went into a almost final stage collaboration for a VC round with Sky Ocean Ventures from UK. And that's about $250,000 in VC money. So this is actually great for our plans for scale up. And in the last month, like January and 7 days now in February, we are checking out some additional deals here in Denmark for more further funding to have this nice consortium, so that our scale-up plan again gets realized very quickly and very, very fast for this year. And we are so lucky because in 2020, it's a new decade, but you know what? We have one more additional day. We have 29th of February, so we are so proud and so happy to have one more day to do more stuff in Cellugy for this year. So we look forward to using that very well. Definitely, we look for investors. We look for biotech investors that have complementary skills to what we have found so far, either from the investment side, but also from our partners and the people we collaborate with, because sometimes also professionals. But we would mostly look for biotech investors who come with a lot of knowledge and actually that have a lot of empathy, so that they can be patient and also accept that there is a learning curve for them too with Cellugy, because we might not be the most common startup, I would say, out there. And then definitely we look for different types of collaborators for this 2020 scale-up plan with the different trials that we have. As I mentioned before, the barrier coating for cardboard, the strengthening for the corrugated material, and so on. So we really want the right partners, either from the packaging industry, chemical firms, and so on, to help and be part of the journey. In different presentations or different research materials, you can see that for some of these big corporates, you don't necessarily need to invest to benefit financially from a startup, right? You can also become a customer or a simple collaborator. So this is what we're trying to very much also show to the different collaborators, that it doesn't have to be a money flow always. It can also be a relationship flow, and with some other values that we exchange here, let's say sustainability agendas and other types of agendas. I can go on for hours if we go through that topic. But then definitely we also keep an eye for in industry advisors. That's why I mentioned the professionals previously. So whoever fits with this style of work, that maybe you already could have a hunch by listening to this podcast or what you have read on LinkedIn, on our website, just we are easily reachable. So just write, text, email, whatever, and we'll see what we can put together for this next stage that Cellugy is trying to achieve.
Sounds good. And we'll make sure to put all of your contact information in the description of the podcast as well, so everyone can easily find you. And we know that you're always available to answer questions, meet new people. In fact, I don't think there's anybody else in the world that has more energy than you in terms of meeting new people all the time. And I think one of my favorite comments from China was when after you presented, someone sitting next to me said, "Oh, is her title engagement officer? That sounds like the perfect title for Serena. She can engage anyone, anytime, in any conversation."
Well, I got a marriage proposal too, but
oh, very good.
After that pitch, that was actually coming with a package. Just it's very sad. It was a professional network, so I could not take advantage.
You could not say yes. You see, sometimes you pitch, you don't know what's going to happen. You get investment, you get a new husband, who knows? Joke aside, we're very, very happy to have had you on our podcast. Is there anything else that we should have asked you that we haven't asked you that you would like to talk about?
Well, usually people say that we are a summary of our bad experiences. So far, we have been lucky to go through a majority of good experiences. So I'm actually very happy to be speaking on behalf of the team here and what we have been doing so far. So please, to everyone who's going through the same journey, try to have as much positivity as possible and behind a startup and working for a startup and being with a startup team, there are so many layers that you can learn and also have fun and enjoy and I don't know, bring yourself to a new you. So take advantage from that experience, even if you are an intern or a whatever position you might have, and see it with the most. I mentioned the empathy before, but see it as a little project that actually requires taking care of and not a place to exploit opportunities for the worst. So these journeys are to be remembered, and you can never go through the same journey twice. No matter how many startups you might have started or helped or supported, every single one is very unique. So treat it as a unique one, just like that.
Oh, that's lovely. I think I can't say anything nicer than that, so we might need to finish on this beautiful note. Thank you so much for being with us today, Serena, and we'll see you soon, hopefully in Berlin.
Yeah, we are there in Germany very often, so I'm definitely sure next time we're having some drinks. Cool.
Wonderful. See you then. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Startup to Science.
If you like our show and want to know more about what we do, check out our website at inam.berlin.
And don't forget to leave us a review. Until next time.